Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, May 3rd. My name is Alan, and I want to welcome you to my Spiritual Growth Through Recovery podcast. The purpose of these videos is to grow my spirituality by following the AA program of recovery, and I do that by being honest, vulnerable, and accountable, which is why I make the videos. All right, I'm no expert in AA or spirituality or recovery. I'm just sharing my experience as I try to live life on life's terms, and I do it sober. All right. Now, the recipe we follow here is we read the daily reading out of the AA Daily Reflections book. There is a link in the description if you'd like to follow along. I'll just share my take on, what I took from that reading, and then I'll share some other topic that's going on in my life. All right, so we'll get busy here. Today's topic is going to be cleaning house, and I'm going to share about core value number 2, humility. All right, May 3rd. Cleaning house. Somehow, being alone with God doesn't seem as embarrassing as facing up to another person. Until we actually sit down and talk aloud about what we have so long hidden, our willingness to clean house is still largely theoretical. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 60. It wasn't unusual for me to talk to God and myself about my character defects, but to sit down, face to face, and openly discuss these intimacies with another person was much more difficult. I recognized in the experience, however, a similar relief to the one I had experienced when I first admitted I was an alcoholic. I began to appreciate the spiritual significance of the program, and that this step was just an introduction to what was yet to come in the remaining 11 steps. All right, so it sounds like with regards to step 5, it's almost like a precursor to cleaning house is to share with another person. So why is it so important to include another person? Right? For me, it becomes more real because I've shared it with myself and to God, and even though God, who the one I should care about, whose opinion I should care about, it's really about my peers that I care about. And if they were to find, oh my God, I don't know if I could face that. But I like where it says our willingness was largely theoretical, our willingness to clean house. So it's what's such a big deal to share with another person. And to me, I can't hide from it. I can't justify it. It's real. All right. It wasn't unusual for me to talk to God, but then to sit down face to face with another person was much more difficult. So I guess why is it difficult? For me, it's difficult because I thought I was the only one that behaved certain ways. These other people never behaved that way. So I'm going to be judged. I'm going to be shamed for all my behaviors. And I think I've always kind of known God knew my secrets, but not these other people. What's interesting is the next part where it talks about I recognize in the experience. I was surprised that when I shared my stuff, they're like, yeah, and most people have done worse and more and the same things I've done. And it was shocking. But it made me feel like, okay, I'm not such a mess. I'm kind of a little broken, but I'm not a total a train wreck. I wasn't judged, so it's okay. And I think that's such a relieving thing that I don't have to carry that shame with me anymore when I share with somebody else. And then it talks about the spiritual significance of this step. For me, part of the spiritual significance is to know we are not alone. I'm not alone in this thing. And that's a pretty big deal for me. I always thought, I've always felt if people really knew the real me, I'd be unlovable. That's kind of what I got from this reading. And I guess the next part, I want to just continue the conversation about core values and about the idea of humility. And I know I've talked about this before, so I'm not going to belabor this one too much. Once again, I want to talk about the core values. They're principles of belief that we hold most dear. And those values are what everything else revolves around. So what are my core thoughts, beliefs, behaviors, my foundation of how I go about the world, okay? And they're important because that's kind of our compass. It really shows who we are, all right? All right, so humility. So once again, what's humility, right? So being vulnerable and valuable, but not more important than others. Not entirely self-reliant. I'm not alone doing this thing. And having a realistic sense of self. A willingness to see ourselves truthfully. So I'd mentioned that I kind of have like a mission statement. So my quote on this one is, I will allow the world to see me as I am, because by myself I am nothing. So it's kind of being real, vulnerable, and also not alone. I'm by myself. I'm not nothing. So I kind of took those pieces together. So why is humility important? It's it's a good asset for self-improvement because I want to see myself honestly. I don't want to be stuck in these bad behavioral patterns. By living a humble life, you recognize the areas of your life that need work. All right. Humility is directly related to our ability and willingness to learn. If I'm not willing to deal with the reality that I don't know everything, then how am I going to learn anymore? Because I'm already got my guard up. Okay. Humility strengthens our social functions and bonds. No one wants to know it all. So just knowing that you're not any better than anybody else, it's easier to make friends that way. It helps us grow spiritually because ultimately, I don't believe I'm alone in this thing. I'm not self-reliant. I'm more willing to rely on a higher power. Okay. So why did I choose humility? I've always been caught up in how I measure up in the world, afraid to fail and afraid to appear stupid or weak. I've been going it alone since I was about 16, and my way isn't working. Okay, and I truly desire a relationship with a higher power. So how am I doing on this thing? I think I'm very open to this is me, but I'm still too self-reliant and unwilling to bring anybody else, any person or higher power, along with me along this journey. So it's still something I'm way too self-reliant, and this may be one that takes me a while, but it's one that I'm willing to face. Okay, it's one I'm willing to face. So anyway, that's today. Definitely want to encourage you to, if there's something that you need to talk about, find someone that you can trust and share that with them to unburden yourself. And I think you'll find that you're not the only one that's thinking or does the things you do. And most likely, if you have that vulnerability, that other people will open up to you as well. So definitely want to encourage you to look at that as you go along here. So anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day, hump day, and I'll be back tomorrow for the next core value, which is going to be integrity. So until then, until tomorrow, peace out.